Oh, hello, Studio 108 community. Lisa Turner and I are here. We are so excited to sit down and talk about, what do you think? The eclipse.
I feel like we're a little late to the table, but better late than never. And speaking of, this is really important to remember, speaking of late to the table, just because the eclipse happened yesterday does not mean all of these big things happened. Eclipses, transits, they're not light switches. They don't just come and then leave. Remember, it's an orb of energy. Things are growing. So you're looking at the next 6 months, this area of life, which we've been working with, for a while now, this Scorpio and Taurus eclipses. But the growing, the planting of seeds, where it is in the Scorpio area of our chart, with this yesterday's solar eclipse, it's growing. It's still moving. The energy is still happening. So even though we're late to the table,
and there's a little bit of a connection. And I know you're going to kind of tie it up in a bow for us, but like this eclipse is a partner kind of to the
always in pairs
full moon eclipse that comes in a couple of weeks. So we're kind of actually maybe a day late, but in the thick of it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So buckle up. I don't think I remember, maybe it's just been this past year, like so many astrological events being talked about, posted about, just people's awareness of these things.
I think it's really gotten huge. And one of the things that I truly love about this platform and working with you on this is that we don't sensationalize it. Right? We bring it home to you in your life, and let's just look at it like down here. Let's look at it down here to what's happening up there and applying it into our life and how to really work with it. Because I know that a lot of things that happen on social media and in different it is sensationalized, and it's
and also it's like it's made another entity, like it's out there happening to us, when really it's in here happening with us. So it's like me with me is what this conversation's about. Okay, good. Yes. Okay, I love you so much. This is so much fun.
And this eclipse is conjunct Venus, which, it is about love and affection. And one of the quotes that I do have, a Scorpio and Venus. So this eclipse is very sensitive in my life. It hits sensitive points. It hits my natal Venus. It's sensitive points in my son's chart, actually in a lot of close people in my life. So this eclipse for me is very personal. And there is a quote, as Tracy's going in here, is that people can only meet you as deeply as they have met themselves. Scorpio Mark Kahn is the quote from. Scorpio wants to go deep. So these energies of the eclipse, of the area of life that is growing of attention, creating new chapters, there is a sense of depth there, intensity, change, transformation. Scorpio is sensual, it's deep. It is on the South Node, so there are things from the past. Is that shame? Is that guilt? Are there things around sex that are weighing you down, or you feel ashamed of, that need to be healed, some type of catharsis?
Well, I feel like too, with this South Node, there's this idea that let it go. Just clear the karma, let it go, let the past be in the past. And there really isn't conclusion unless we tie up loose ends and kind of make some amend. So while we're down there.
With Venus there, what I think has a potential to happen, because it is a South Node, but it's a South Node eclipse, but it's a solar eclipse, right? So there's a growing.
Gotcha.
So what I think is going to happen is things from the past, maybe experiences, they have to be reworked somehow. So maybe there's a death of what didn't work in the past, or the friendship or the relationship that didn't work in the past, but somehow that's going to change and get reformed and renewed.
Yeah, and you know what? That's so interesting, because it is really hard to let stories change.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that we travel our whole life with, and we have certain assumptions and definitions about them. And I know how it feels when people apply this to me. So I try to like figure out like how can I let them change? How can I let their story change? How can I let them grow into the person they want to be, not the person necessarily I want them to be. So Venus, Scorpio, like a lot of rich territory there, a lot to think about.
Yes. You know, it's edgy, right? So I was thinking of, you know, what is an image of, you know, Venus and Scorpio? It's like nails on the back, right? That was like hunger type of love and passion. It is all in. So it's an all in energy. It's not like a wavery, waffling, not at all. There is that intensity around it. If you, and of course I have to find a story to go along with it as I'm teaching. So I've had a couple of different ways in which I've approached this eclipse, but one of the ones that I really liked was the story of Charlotte's Web, right? So you have Wilbur, who's born in the spring, like a spring pig, right? Like this.
Oh, Wilbur's the pig.
Wilbur's the pig,
Okay.
the Taurus energy, right? This very cute spring pig. And they have this saying, you know, that the spring pig never sees winter. So here you have birth, right? This birth, this renewal, you know, this cute little cuddly little pig, but he's supposed to technically die. He's not supposed to see winter. And he joins and forms this kinship and this friendship. And honestly,
friendship.
Yes,
Venus friendship.
With Charlotte, this spooky spider kind of, you know, who really wants to befriend a spider? Nobody did, you know, that was in the barn. She's kind of shunned, dark, mysterious, you know, any of those kind of scorpionic things. And there's a love there. There's a love there between, you know, the two of them. And she, you know, ultimately helps him with these big words, saves his life. She saves his life. And as she saves his life, you know, her greatest accomplishment is her little babies. And she has to tell Wilbur that, you know, her time has come. It's time for her to die. And, you know, tears are streaming down her face.
Come on.
You know, tears are streaming down her face, or my face, I should say.
Yeah.
But she just explains to him the process of life, or birth, of life and death, and that is the cycle, and that is the cycle that we have been working with. One of the things that I really took home from the symbolism of Charlotte's Web and this eclipse is it's about love and reciprocity.
Yeah.
The people that we give to, do they return that same love and affection? You know, when you are unconditionally loved by someone, they love those demons. They can see past those. They embrace them.
And I think with Charlotte and Wilbur, there was like mutual, compassionate, cooperative service to each other.
Yes.
Like that friendship is a friendship.
Yes.
That love is of service.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
how can I help you?
Yes. And it didn't matter that she was a scary spider, you know, it didn't matter. That was his friend.
And it didn't matter that she was gonna die and knew she was gonna die, she wanted to save him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that really spoke to me with that energy of love and affection and how we give and what we place value upon.
And I love that you talked about them as Wilbur being the Taurus, the spring, and Charlotte being the Scorpio, because this is what we have, like Taurus and Scorpio oppose each other across the chart. And so this new moon solar eclipse is in Scorpio, and in a couple of weeks we've got the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus. So anytime, we're always on this planet working the polarities, and this is sort of our conversation, that discovery across the continuum of what does this mean for us.
Absolutely.
And it's going to mean different things in different houses of our chart.
It is, and if it touches a planet in your personal chart, So with eclipses, they are small orbs of influence. So, you know, look at like 2-3 degrees, maybe 4, right? You're going to stay within 1 or 2 degrees of that eclipse. I wouldn't go any farther. Some astrologers look at the squares or the oppositions, definitely. I'm just looking at the conjunctions because I'm looking to see what's seated, what's being seated in the chart.
Okay.
And notice the story that you've been working with, because it's the same house polarity. So today we're going to go through where the solar eclipse is happening in your chart, where it's seated. But next couple weeks, when you have that lunar eclipse is going to be in the opposite house.
Okay, and Lisa, it's 2 degrees Scorpio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 2 degrees Scorpio.
Yep. 2 degrees.
Okay, that's what you're looking at. In your chart, where is 2 degrees Scorpio? And it goes kind of backwards-ish, counterclockwise.
Yeah,
the numbers.
counterclockwise. Yep.
Yeah. So it feels a little bit backwards. They go from right to left.
Yep.
From 0 is left and 20.
From left to right. Yep.
Right to left.
When you're reading it, yep, your first house.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Your degree
I'm
points.
looking at it. Yes. You are going down and around.
For your degree points.
Yes.
But okay, so I know I'm in the 10th house, but you start wherever you want. I'm just gonna like.
Yeah.
Kind of
I'm gonna start in the 8th house. So I'm gonna start with Aries on the ascendant. So your 8th house, this is where my eclipse is happening. Remember, there is this intensity. So that 8th house is about other people's money. It's sexual relationships, it's power, it's transformation within those sexual relationships, or with other people's money, other people's resources. It's notice the new bonds that form. Notice how your own intimate relationships are changing. So, you know, again, you have that south node. So there's a storyline there. There's been a storyline in that 8th house, but now we are planting something new. I anticipate in every area of life, there will be a death and decay before a rebirth, right?
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Not always fun.
No, not
sometimes
always
joyful, but not always fun. Okay.
Those Taurus rising, that 7th house, you're looking at your existing relationships. So if you are, you know, on the hunt for a new relationship, this eclipse may plant something. I am not one to talk about past loves kind of coming into your life, but with Venus on that south node in the house of relationships, maybe you had, you know, close friendships in the past that kind of went on the wayside, or, you know, you haven't really, you know, something made them where there was just a passing of ways, or things didn't meet at the eye. You may notice that those start to come back. One-on-one relationships in that 7th house, if you've been thinking about counseling or anything where you want to work with other people, that also applies in that 7th house. The 6th house is of hard work and service and health. So notice if there's a breakdown in health. I know that's like a scary thing to think about, or your work, you know, coworkers, working with other people. Just if we can think that there might be a breakdown before the renewal, it might be easier to kind of sit with a little bit. Because we need that cleanse. If you go back to our last podcast, we talked about that a lot. You know, the detox, the purge. It has to kind of happen. Our 5th house is fun, self-esteem, children. If you want to have babies, it's pregnancy, it's sexual pleasure, it's having fun again. If you have, you know, been giving a lot of attention to your children, you know, maybe this is the time where you're like, you know what, you're a little older now, South Node. You're a little older, you can I can get a babysitter, you can take care of yourself. It's time for me. I'm going to, you know, go back and kind of not reinvent, but kind of reaffirm my own passions again and what they are. Leo and that 4th house, it is changes in the home. An eclipse there sometimes talks about moving, relocating. It is family patterns, things that are hidden, Remember, things bubble to the surface that are kind of hidden away. So if there are family traumas, things that you have kind of been carrying with you, that may come up as well.
That's directly opposing the 10th. So maybe that was, we had an experience that, from my life about past family from the past coming back. And I'm a 10th house, but 4th is directly across.
Yep,
so maybe
it is.
that's why that's hitting something
Very
there.
well.
Yeah, we didn't look into it deeply, but what I'm saying is this.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
it's a more multidimensional interaction, which is why Lisa does so many privates with people, because
Yes.
you really want someone to look at you specifically if you want more direct help.
Yes,
So this is
exactly.
guidance. So I'm going to say it one more time. She's talking about the house where your Scorpio is. So even though she's saying Taurus, she means Taurus ascending.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So what's the next house?
So then
If
after
Scorpio is in your 3rd.
it's going to be Virgo next. So
Okay.
Virgo would be your ascendant ruler, which would put Scorpio in your 3rd house. And that 3rd house is communicating, siblings, learning. It is trips for pleasure. Maybe you notice that you want to tackle a new project of learning or going back to school, but it would be something that maybe you toyed with, right? South Node, something from the past, but now you really want to sink your teeth into, right? Something that gives you that deep pleasure and fulfillment. The 2nd house is our income house. How are you making money? Do you feel appreciated or valued? Are you starting a new way to make money, right? Vulnerability, how do you share? It is the Taurus house. So we like to kind of like hold our assets and our things and our belongings tight and close to the glove. And Scorpio wants that emotional, deep kind of connection. So is sharing your resources and your assets, or even starting a new business venture where you have to merge with someone else, and rely on their finances as well, could kind of tie in. Scorpio on your 1st house. Your 1st house is your body. So it could be a difficult one. Change in identity, change in your body, change in the way in which you approach the world, because it is your physical body. Health could also come up as well. Maybe you're drained or stressed, but definitely guard for health. But also, who am I, right? Because there's that death of self, that change and transformation. With Sag going into the 12th house, the 12th house we can't see, right? The 12th house is what we keep hidden. So this would be the house of something kind of revealed from the unconscious, right? Something that we weren't expecting.
Revelations, maybe. Revelations.
That surface, kind of, out of the shadows. I guess I like that imagery. When you have a Capricorn rising, that puts the eclipse in your 11th house, and this is about our groups. And our relationship with others. It can also be about new goals, things that we want to set out for ourselves. Maybe, there was something from, again, the past that we were thinking about doing or thinking about joining, and now here we are, and it's the time. I think that to stress the importance of those deep connections. I had made a comment in our last podcast on how, I have this Pluto in my 7th house, so relationships change me, which they do, because, wherever Pluto is or wherever Scorpio is this deep, profound change. And I had made a comment about control. One of the things that Scorpio, it needs the depth. So I don't necessarily function well with superficial conversations.
Yeah.
So if you're joining groups, they're gonna be the ones that really get down, that really like feel you again, at the soul.
Yes.
those type of connections. And maybe, you know, you notice that the groups or the things that you were involved in, they don't serve you
It's so
anymore.
crazy. I just said that yesterday.
Because
I'm like, this group of people is no.
because they're not.
I
They're
love
not-
them. I love them, but I
They're,
can't.
yeah, they're not meeting you
Yeah.
where you need to be, right? If you've done all of this inner work,
Yeah.
you want those groups to meet you, you
Yeah.
know, down in that work as well. The 10th house is career. So, you know, here we have seeding with career direction, maybe new directions, maybe something that we've been starting and had to put on a back burner. Now we're getting ready to be creative, be artistic, and put something out there that's kind of been, we've been sitting with. Yeah. The 9th house is the house of travel and beliefs. So again, you could go back to school. When I thought about this, I thought about like spirituality, where people want to travel because they have this deep inner growing of needing something to fulfill their soul, like a calling, right? Something that calls to the heart, this sense of depth, that I've been living this life that is here, but I want these deep experiences, and to get these deep experiences, I'm going to travel to do so. I'm going to go to different religions and philosophies and study, right?
Yeah. Pilgrimage.
Pilgrimage, thank you. That's exactly what pilgrimage, yes. So those are kind of like the highlights. One of the things to kind of tie in kind of the death and the decay and the renewal is there are 3 stages of a Scorpion, or of a Scorpio, I should say. And we often hear, when we read things of the Scorpio, of jealousy and possessive and controlling, and
I'm married to a Scorpio, you know.
and I'm a Scorpio, so you know, like,
so it's like looking at him across the room. I see you. I see you.
So we often hear that, but that is actually the lower octave of a Scorpio, right?
Yeah.
So like when I was reading through this, I was like, yeah, I could see that in my youth. Yeah. You know, this anger, and honestly being controlled by emotion, not understanding the emotion, not understanding the depth of the emotion,
like angst.
Yes.
It taints
it's
everything.
raw, exactly, and it's self-destructive.
Yeah.
So you know, the Scorpio,
it doesn't work well for you.
No, it
It's not like
doesn't.
you try to destroy yourself.
It's the one where you like
gonna
sting yourself, right? You're trying to lash out at everybody else, but then you end up attacking yourself.
So you said lower octave. That
the
means
lower octave.
It's the less mature expression.
Correct. Yes, it is. And then hopefully we evolve to the eagle, which is the 2nd stage, and it's about courage and personal power. And we have this awareness now, right? We're becoming more wise. We self-reflect. We don't react as easily. We're not trying to manipulate or control, right? We have an awareness now. We still, in the eagle place, I don't want to say struggle, but maybe struggle. We still have to balance, right? So maybe we do sometimes want to get back into that stinger, you know, but we're working on it. We're more aware. It's so
interesting, because when you think about it, how would you learn how to balance without going through the angst? Mm-hmm. How would you be able to come into that self-awareness if it wasn't through the bumps and the bruises of that less mature spot?
Yes.
So compassion for self, Scorpios. I love you.
Yes. And then the final stage is the one of the Phoenix. Sometimes it's called the dove, and it's where, you know, we are reborn out of the ashes. It's associated with transformation. The key is we have learned to let go. And that is really hard.
Wow.
That is really hard. And that's where we become more aware of our powers, where we become more of the healer, of the mystic, because we are not
the wise one. Like, and it's interesting because actually next Friday is this Friday, 2 days, is Bill's birthday, and Bill's my husband, and it's been really interesting to watch him kind of come through some of these different, I've
Yeah,
only known him for 15, 16 years, but like hearing his stages of life, that
yes.
is so very obviously clear. And it's been really interesting and wonderful to see this period of his life and how the relationships at work have shifted, the relationships within the family have shifted, and people are looking for him as the wise one, the
Mhm.
elder, the leader, like, and now he's like mentoring and finding a lot of reward and satisfaction in mentoring
Yeah.
the younger people at work. And then he'll roll his eyes and say something about the millennials and we'll both laugh. But like he's like not that less mature spot, and kind of there's been exactly what you're talking about. So happy birthday, Bill. And and I see you and I just adore you. And it reminds me too that like I think to myself, because I know you can do the same thing to Aries, because I'm an Aries, and she can go to the lower octave of Aries and she can paint a picture of me in my life. And it's like our life that gives us these experiences. It's our life. So you can't really bypass or jump over or just think your way. You have to just live your way through it.
You do have to live your way through it, and you know, people, hopefully, when you come into a yoga class for like the very first time, I think we're still very ego oriented, right? I'm here to achieve
Sure.
X,
Yes.
Y, and Z. And
who am I next to?
Right.
Will I look bad? Will I do it
Right.
right? Yeah.
And then somewhere this happens.
Yeah.
Right? Somewhere this transformation happens. Somewhere this alchemy happens. And then
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And then you notice that you are not just doing yoga on your mat, but kind of like we were talking about earlier, you're doing it all day.
Yeah.
You are in a constant state of spiritual practice as you walk one foot in front of the other.
Stopping at the red light, standing in line, helping the kids get ready for school, talking to your coworkers, negotiating with your partner. Like it's all our practice.
It is, and I had a humbling experience listening to a book, because it's been on my shelf forever and I haven't had a chance to read it. But my huge takeaway from the book is that our souls are meant to evolve and grow in this earth school through experience, right? Through experience, through the people that we meet. And I can catch myself going, how do you not know?
Yeah, to people,
like in my mind, I don't get it. Like, how do you not know? And listening to this author read his book, he said, everybody's growth is different, right? Everybody's soul's growth is different. My soul growth and is going to have different experiences that it needs than your experiences that you need. And he said it, and I went, wow, duh. Like,
Yeah. So simple.
Simple.
And something I might even say, but have I ever really like digested, applied it to the people that I'm like in front of?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so when we go through, this final stage of eclipses, because we have been working with it, as we go through these final stages of eclipses, and we notice the changes that are bubbling up and the things that we notice are ready to be released, ready to let go, the changes, the challenges, maybe it is about our love and money and affection and all of these things, and just honoring that change. And if it feels scary, like I said, my biggest takeaway in this cycle has been about, but this is my soul's growth. Whatever these experiences are, this is what I need. I'm learning something here.
And there's no destination. Like I know the generation before me, which is way back there, but like there was this expectation, there was a belief in the collective conscious that you did these certain things and then that was it. There was a bow on top of the package and you just sort of rode out the rest of your days. And that paradigm has completely shifted. So now we're in this continuous learning paradigm.
Yeah.
We're in this continuous growth. We're in this like idea that we can continue to create our whole lives long. We can continue to grow, to change and evolve and transform our whole lives long. And one of the things that might be challenging for like the younger people is that you feel like I feel like sometimes they wonder, am I doing it right? What's wrong with me? Whereas it's just a messy, messy scene. And you just kind of follow one day to the next doing your best. And the universe is in support of you. And probably most of the people around you are in support of you. And if you can be in support of you, yeah, there's no destination.
No.
Like I'm not done growing and changing. I don't have all my answers yet.
Yes, exactly.
I hope, because probably when I have all my answers, peace out. So me and Charlotte, bye-bye. Like me and my little spiders had my babies, bye-bye. And so I was just like, yeah. Poor, yeah. Little Wilbur.
Yeah, poor Wilbur. But he made it to see winter.
Yeah.
You know, he made it to see winter. He defied the odds, right? So I feel as though that is that energy of, yeah, it may seem like doom, it may seem a little scary, but you know, he defied the odds. Yeah, it does. Out of the ashes we go. But you know, be kind to your Scorpio friends.
Yeah, and get some extra rest. Yeah, get some extra rest. Take care of yourselves.
And enjoy your soul's journey. I mean, honestly, that has been and it's really been my mantra, because these eclipses are hitting me personally and the people that I know personally. And you know, Tracy had mentioned something in our previous podcast, and the author of the book had kind of reflected on it in a similar way of, I want to be a participant. I want to be a participant in my journey. I want to be conscious and aware of co-creating, you know, my life.
I mean, I think that's really exciting about our times. Previous generations weren't privy to that conversation. That didn't occur to them. We're blessed that we're living at this really incredibly exciting time where we have this idea and we can reach out and just be a part of our own soul's growth and evolution.
Yes, absolutely.
So many people to guide us and help us. It's outstanding. Okay, what do we have at the studio really quick? Power of 11 is a healing circle with some channeling. Lisa will, not this Lisa.
Not me, Lisa, the other Lisa.
Yes. Lisa Stewart will channel Archangel Michael, and Dolores Alquist will do some group healing meditation, really meaningful, impactful work. So if this eclipse is sort of like getting you in a place where you're like, I'm not quite sure, just come, rest your body, let your subconscious and your soul and your higher self just have an experience and see if that's helpful for you. Also, there's sound bath coming up. There's Reiki attunement coming up. Leah's got a wacky and witchy workshop on Sunday coming up. I know, so she's going to do some ritual and some practice and have some fun. That'll be an intention setting and included in that, in the celebration of the seasons. So a lot on the website to support you, and that's what we want. We want to support you because honestly, you support us. You give us a lot of great community and
I love being here.
Love it.
I mean,
love
it's
serving people.
Yes.
Just love the conversations and the practices. And thank you for all that you bring.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go with many blessings. Remember who you are.
Namaste.
In chorus.